Hi, I'm Alex, co-founder of Axiom. In this video, I'm going to take you through all the steps you can find in Axiom, one by one, talking you through the functionality very quickly. This video is not intended for consuming on YouTube. It's going to be broken up and inserted into our steps pages on our website, Axiom.ai, to explain how each step works. If you've happened across this video on YouTube, please head over to our website, Axiom.ai, and discover more about browser automation, or select some of the other videos available on our channel. Without further ado, let's begin. The loop through data step. I'm going to open up the step finder, press loop, add the loop through data step. Here you can see I can add steps within the loop. I can also add another loop within the loop. You can nest loops up to 5 levels within Axiom. That's more than enough to complete your tasks. Now, I'm just going to delete that. To add steps within your loop, make sure you use the Add Step button within the loop. Click Add Step. I could, for example, add an Enter Text step. Now, to set which data you wish to loop through, you're best doing that within the step that you're passing data into. For example, this Enter Text step, I'm going to click Insert Data, and you'll see the Loop Through Data option, configuration option, is automatically set in the Loop Through Data step. The key press step, I'm going to open up the step finder, I'm going to type in key press, I'm going to add the step. The first option is to simply record your keystrokes. For example, I can record a tab to switch between elements like input fields. I record a return to click on a button, and up and down arrows can scroll the page, for example. When I'm done recording my keystrokes, I can press stop recording. You can also pass in keystrokes directly from a data source such as a Google Sheet, but you will need to use a delimiter to separate each keystroke. If you don't use a delimiter, it won't work. You can adjust the delimiter you wish to use and enter a custom one. Finally, you have an option to add a delay to make the key time between keystrokes appear longer and mimic human activity. The Create New Google Sheet step. I'm going to open up the step finder. I'm going to type in Sheet, and I'm going to look for the new Google Sheet step there at the top. I'm going to click and add it. All I need to do is insert a sheet name. You can also insert data and pass names from a data source. Mouse click and drag step. I'm going to open up the step finder. I'm going to search for mouse. I'm going to add the step. Now, all I need to do is simply select the start coordinate, the place I want to start dragging from. I point and click, and the end coordinates, the place I want to drag to, point and click, and the step is set up. You can also manually set coordinates and pass coordinates in from a Google Sheet. The jump step. Open up the step finder, type in jump. I'm going to click and add the step. This step simply jumps between steps. In the jump to step, you specify the number of the step you wish to jump to. For example, if I put in 1, I would jump back to the top of the Axiom and go to the very first step. The maximum amount of cycles is the amount of times the step will jump. If it runs out of cycles, the bot will simply continue on past the jump step. You can also pass in data to set the maximum amount of cycles. The Generate Random Password step. Open up the step finder, type in password, click and add your step. All you need to do is set the password length and then decide whether to use non-alphanumeric characters. Your password will be returned as a token you can use inside other steps. The random wait step. Open up Step Finder, type in random. Click on random weight, adding the step. All you need to do is specify a minimum weight and a maximum weight in milliseconds. The read data from Google Sheet step. I'm going to open up the step finder. I'm going to type in read, then click and add the step. First of all, set the spreadsheet that you want to pull data from. You can cut and paste your URL into this field or use the drop down. I've selected a sheet called LinkedIn Scrapes. Then, if your sheet contains tabs, set a sheet name. I'm going to choose FinTech Founders. You'll see the preview is loaded in the output. We do have other settings if you want to specify a cell to start reading data from and a last cell to read to. This is useful for something called batching. And there is an option to allow your bot to continue to run even if your Google Sheet is empty. The remove duplicates step. I'm going to open up the step finder, type in remove, click to add the step. Now it's very simple to set up. Select a data source to remove your duplicates from. You can then either leave the step to check all columns in the data source for duplicates, or you can toggle on the option to set specific columns to check for duplicates. Step. The Remove HTML step. I'm going to open up the step finder. I'm just going to type in HTML, add the step. All you'll need to do is under data, click insert data and pass in your source where you want to remove the HTML from. Click and save. You should see an updated preview with the HTML stripped out. The replace text step. Open up the step finder, type in replace, click and add the step. First thing I need to do is insert data. I'm going to choose scrape data. I will see a preview of some text. I want to replace the word automation with the word bot. So I click and add that data. Next, text to replace. So I want to replace the word automation. I insert that text into the field. You can insert text from data simply by clicking insert data if you wish. But I'm going to remove automation and replace it with bot. So I add bot to replace with field. Again, you can insert data in that field. And in the output, you'll see I've now got browser bot quickly without code. The Rollover Element step. I'm going to open up the step finder. I'm going to search for a rollover element, add the step. All you need to do for this step is press select and choose the element you wish to roll over, then press complete. The run another Axiom step. I'm going to open up the step finder, type in run, add the step. All you need to do is interact with the select list and choose the axiom you wish to run inside the axiom. The save page as HTML step. I'm going to open up the step finder. I'm going to type in save page. I'm going to add the step. Super simple to set up. First of all, I've got to designate a folder. You can either insert data and pass a path to the folder from a Google Sheet, for example, or you can click to select and find the folder directly off your desktop. Next up, file name. You can either type in the file name into this input, or you can insert data and pass a file name from a Google Sheet or any other data source. And of course, you can do a combination of both. The final configuration option is overwrite existing file. Toggle that if you wish to do so and tick the box overwrite existing file. And that'll stop Axiom from creating a new file every time the file is generated by this step. The conditional jump step. I'm going to open up the step finder, type in jump, add the conditional jump step. Now to set this up, under data to check, insert the data you wish to check, then condition to check, type in a word in the input field you wish to check against. You can also pass data into this field. And another option is you can just create a condition in JavaScript, which you can also insert data to get your variables. Okay. We also have a couple of options for matching words. You can match any word, all words, match only the complete word. Once you set up the condition, you'll now need to set up the jump. You'll need to specify a jump step to jump to. For example, 1. The amount of cycles you wish to jump. Keep in mind, if the amount of cycles is exhausted, the bot will just keep on running and go straight past the condition without checking it. You can also insert data into the maximum cycles. And finally, of course, you can reverse the condition. So the condition triggers the jump on false. The join data step. And open up the step finder, type in join, click and add the step. You'll need to first of all specify a base set of data. Then the column of data you wish to use as basis of the join. Moving on to the data you wish to join, you'll need to click Insert Data and choose a data source for that before setting the column that you want to match with the base data. We do have a setting for fuzziness of the match. Simply drag and drop to change the scale of fuzziness. The JavaScript step. Open up the step finder, type in Java, click and add the step. You can enter your code into the panel within the step. Please do note that any return values need to be an array of arrays. It really is worth reading the documentation we link to within the step. By the way, you can also insert data from other steps for use within your code. The if condition step. I'm going to open up the step finder. I'm going to search for if condition. I'm going to click on the option that says if the condition is true, run steps. You'll see the step is added on screen. This is a nested step, so any steps added inside the if condition will be executed if the condition is true, or you can set it to execute the steps if the condition is false. To configure this step, simply insert the data to check, then set up the condition to check the data against. In this case, I'll check for a word. Set the options, any word or all words, match only the complete word. You can also, as I mentioned, reverse the condition, so they'll execute if the condition is false. Then all you need to do is add the steps you want to execute within the condition by clicking the nested Add Step button. The split by character step. I'm going to open up the step finder, type in split, add the step. It's very simple to set up. Enter the character or characters you wish to split from. For example, if I wanted to remove www from a URL, and then insert the data source you wish to split. The Solve Captcha step. I'm going to open up the step finder, type in solve, add the step. Please note this step requires the toCaptcha service. You'll need your own account and a valid API key. Once you have that key, input it into the field within the step. It's also worth noting within the step, it lists the captcha services this solution solves. The send email step. Open up your step finder, type in send email, add the step. You'll see first of all you need to add your email addresses. Add one email address per line if entering them directly into the input field. You can also click Insert Data to pass email addresses from any data source such as Zapier or Google Sheets. in the email subject input, I think that's obvious. Add the subject of your email. In the email body, likewise, add the message for your email. You can insert data into the email body and pass a message from a data source such as Google Sheet, or you can use a combination of both text in the field and data taken from a source. The select list step. I'm going to open up the step finder, type in select, choose the step. Once it's added, all I need to do is select on screen the list I wish to interact with by pointing and clicking. I can, of course, set custom selectors by choosing the custom option, where I can use element text. I can enter custom CSS selectors into the input field, and I can pass data in containing selectors from a Google Sheet, for example. Once your selector is set up, press complete. Next, you need to tell the step which option in the select list you wish to interact with. You can either manually type in a value, or you can pass in a value from a Google Sheet or other data source by clicking Insert Data. Save screenshot locally step. I'm going to open up the step finder, type in screenshot, add the step. Quickly, do remember that you can only run this step on your desktop app. Axiom will inform you that when you go to run it. Okay, how to set this step up. First of all, you'll need to specify a folder. You can type or cut and paste a path into the folder field, or you can click Select Path to choose a folder off your desktop. You can also click Insert Data and pass paths in from data sources such as a Google Sheet. Next up, file name. You should give each screenshot a file name. You can pass file names in from a Google Sheet by clicking Insert Data if you want to. You can also specify file types, either a JPEG or a PNG, and we have an option you can toggle on to overwrite existing files. You'll of course need to click tick to overwrite. Save screen to a Google Drive. Open up Step Finder. I'm going to type in screen. I'm going to add the step. Now, this step allows you to save screenshots to your Google Drive in the cloud or on the desktop runner. First of all, you'll need to pass in a URL to your Google Drive folder. You can insert data and pass that URL from a data source such as Zapier or Google Sheet. Then you'll need to set a file name. Once again, you can click Insert Data and pass in file names from other sources. You can specify file types, JPEG or PNG. If you're using the desktop version of Axiom, you'll need to toggle this option on and specify a local folder to store the images in. The wait step. I'm going to open up the step finder, just type in wait. I'm going to add the step. Very simple step to use. It has a single input field. All you need to do is enter a time in milliseconds. I often use about 500 milliseconds to pause the page to allow a button to appear or some content to load that I want to interact with. You can, of course, use the wait page to pause the bot so you can interact with the web page on the desktop app. The swap columns and rows step. Open up the step finder, enter in swap, add the step. All that's left to do is add the data I wish to transpose. The split name step. Below the get data from URL, I'm going to open up the step finder, type in split. I'm going to choose the splitter name into column step. Now, the first thing you need to do is select data source. I'm going to insert the data from the scrape step, and you'll see I've got a list of names handily already there. Now, you can choose a column where you want the data or where the names to be found, but because I've only got a single column in the data source, I don't need to do that. Next, I need to select the fields to split the name into. I don't want the title and I don't want other names. I will now have a token available to output into any step, for example, a send email. from the split name step, where I can choose a combination of the first name and second name, or just the first name. The Switch Browser tab step. I'm going to open up the step finder. I'm going to search for Switch. I'm going to add the Switch Browser tab step. Here you can see it's very simple to configure. You either have an option to enter the number of the tab you want to switch to in the field, or you can toggle and switch it to last open tab. The Go to Page step. I'm going to open up the step finder. I'm going to search Go to. At the top, I'll see the step, Go to Page. I'm going to add it. Very simple step to set up. You have a single field. Here you enter the URL of the web app or web page you wish to automate. You can, of course, click Insert Data and you can pass in URLs from a Google Sheet or from a scrape. You have a couple of additional configuration options. Do not share local storage. That basically prevents this step from sharing the session and saves on a page refresh. And, of course, open in a new tab. That's quite self-explanatory. The Get Data from a URL step. Open up the step finder, type in Get, and select the correct step. Get data from a URL. I've added the step. You'll see, first of all, in the URL field that it's grabbed the link from the current page we're on. You can also click Insert Data and pass in URLs from a data source such as a Google Sheet. Next, using our point and click selector tool, select the content you wish to scrape. For repeating patterns, click on the first bit of content, then the second, and Axiom will also try and match up columns of data, and the algorithm will work out the repeating pattern. You can add as many columns as you want and can also change the data types. So now I want to change it to link. I may need to reselect. That's easy enough, just point and click. You can also select images, HTML and text, and of course you can use custom CSS selectors. Now, if you see a blue color at all when making a selection, it might indicate an iframe. You can toggle iframe support on or off. Finally, if you want to learn more about the selector tool, we have plenty of information on our website. Go to Axiom.ai. Press complete once your selections have been made. Next up, find a pager. That's very simple as well. Just click, find a pager, scroll down the page, select the next button and press confirm. Match results when testing your bot. Keep this number to a low number and then only increase it when you're ready to scrape. Finally, configuration options. If you want to try and speed up your scraper, we've got plenty of options for you to have an effect on it. First of all, wait time between scrolls. You can adjust this. You can also adjust the number of reattempts that Axiom makes. Basically, Axiom will try and check to see if the content is loaded on the page. If it hasn't, it presumes that it still is loading and it will check a further 2 times. Now, if you've got a fast internet connection and you know the page loads all the content quickly, or at least the content you're scraping, I would recommend setting that to 0 and it greatly speeds up the scrape. But please be warned that if you do adjust any of these settings, including minimum wait time before scraping, you will find that results can vary. Basically, no web page loads content at the same time. Generally, it will stagger it. It could load in after a button is clicked. So if you make a lot of changes and you speed a bot up too much, the content might not be on the page by the time the scrape fires. So do experiment, do test to get it to the optimum settings. Okay, next up, specify an exact number of pixels to scroll instead of auto-scrolling. So instead of Axiom just scrolling down a feed page, for example, an Instagram page, and spending a set time between scrolls, you can specify a scroll height instead, so a pixel height. So you could make Axiom scroll 100 pixels for each jump. Finally, forcing a rescrape. After each page, you can force a rescrape. Only do this if you're not getting the results that you require off the first page. Extract data with Chat GPT. I'm going to click Add Step to open up the step finder. I'm going to type in chat. You'll see the second option, Extract data with Chat GPT. I'm going to click on it to add the step. First up, you'll need to add your API key. Above the API key field, you'll see a link. That'll tell you how to find the API key if you're not sure. Then you need to pass in the data you want ChatGPT to look at. And then you want to type in the values you wish to extract. You can use one of our preset values, or you can enter the values yourself. For example, I could type in phone number, comma, then email. That will extract, obviously, the phone number and the email. That's it. That's all you need to do to configure this step. Generate text with ChatGPT. I'm going to click Add Step to open up the step finder. I'm going to search for chat. You'll see the first option, Generate text with ChatGPT. I'm going to add the step. First up, you'll need to add the API key. Now, that comes with a paid account, and you'll see the link above the field. That will tell you how to find your API key if you're not sure. Next up is your prompt field. Here you can construct your prompt, and you can, of course, click the button Insert Data to pass data that you may have fetched using Axiom Scraper. For example, you could scrape out a comment on a social media page, make it part of your prompt, and generate a response. The Display a Message step. Open up the step finder, type in display, add the step. You'll see a single input field. Here you can type in your message, and of course you can insert data to pass in a message from a data source like a Google Sheet. The message will appear in your browser and not in the Axiom runner. The Append data step. I'm going to open up the step finder, type in Append, add the step. Now, I've got two initial options, data A and data B. I'm going to insert the data I wish to merge together by first inserting data into data A. I'm going to insert some scrape data. I'm going to choose just the first column. And then in data B, I'm going to merge some data or append some data from a Google Sheet. And I'm going to select a single column, column E. And in the preview generator below in the output, you will see the two columns from the two data sources has now been appended or merged, depending how you see it. You can also set your append mode to horizontal or vertical. The Clear Cookies step. All you need to do is open up the step finder, type in clear, add the Clear Cookies step. No configuration required. Once the step is added to your flow, when that step is triggered, your cookies will be cleared. The Clear Data from Google Sheet step. I'm going to open up the step finder. I'm going to type in clear. I'm going to add the step. Now all I need to do is cut and paste the URL of my Google Sheet into the spreadsheet field, or click on the drop down and select the sheet. Then set my sheet name if I'm not using the first blank tab in the sheet. Then I have some options to set a first cell where I want to remove my data from, and a last cell. The Click Element step. I'm going to open up the step finder. I'm going to search for Click Element, add the step. First thing I'll do is click Select and choose the button I wish to click. In this case, download the Chrome extension. All I need to do now is press Complete, but I'm also going to show you some of our custom options. This is a very useful one. Use element text instead of HTML. So if the button you're trying to click has unique text, I highly recommend using this option. You can also set selector from data, i.e. you can pass in a series of CSS selectors from a Google Sheet. The final option is to manually type in your own CSS selectors. When we need to do that, we use Chrome Inspector to identify the selectors on screen and then type them in here. And we're also going to be adding the ability to add XPath directly into that input field. Once you've completed your selector, click the button Complete, and that's all set up. You'll be given the option to do a test click of the button on screen. In this case, I'm not going to. I'm going to press Cancel. We then have two more configuration options, left or right click. They seem quite obvious. Just click on the toggle. Then finally, an optional click. An optional click will basically prevent an error from being thrown if the element isn't on the page. Okay, that's it. Sometimes you may want to close a browser tab. For that, we use the Close tab step. So I'm going to search for Close in the step finder. There's the step. I'm going to add it. It's a very simple step to configure. You can either have it toggled onto the last open tab and it will close that tab, or you can set a tab number for it to close. The current URL step. I'm going to add the step by opening up the step finder, type in URL, add the step. It does exactly what it says on the tin. It fetches the current URL and returns it as a token. The custom data step. Open up the step finder, type in custom, add the step. Now just enter your custom data into the input field. Each line will be treated as a new row. When you go to insert data into another step, you'll see you'll have the option to pass in your custom data. The display a message step. Open up the step finder, type in display, add the step. You'll see a single input field. Here you can type in your message, and of course you can insert data to pass in a message from a data source like a Google Sheet. The message will appear in your browser and not in the Axiom runner. The delete rows from Google Sheet step. I'm going to click Add Step to open up the step finder. I'm going to type in delete, select delete rows from Google Sheet. First up, you'll notice you'll need to add the URL to your spreadsheet in the input, or use the drop down to find the Google Sheet you wish to use. I'm going to select this sheet, it's the order details. Next, you need to specify the sheet name. That's easily done. Select from the drop down, choose the one with the data in that you wish to use. Next, first row to delete, specify the row you want to delete from, and then the last row you wish to delete to. If you only want to delete a single row, do as you see on screen. Set it to 1, and then the next one if the first row is the one you wish to delete. Enter text step. Click on Add Step, search for Enter Text in the step finder, add the step. The first thing you'll need to do is select the text field you wish to input data into. I'm going to click on the search bar on screen. All I need to do is press Complete. I'm also going to show you our custom selector options by clicking on Custom. Here you can select the element by text instead of HTML. You can also manually input CSS selectors into this field, and you can pass CSS selectors from a data source such as Google Sheet. We'll also shortly be adding the option to input XPath directly into this field. When your selector is all set up, press Complete. Then move on to the text field within the Axiom. Here you can manually input the text you wish to submit into the field, or you can click Insert Data to pass text from a data source. You can also use a combination of both. Next, we have several configuration options that you may find useful. A delay, so you can delay the time between each character being entered. This is helpful for when you want to mimic human beings. Next, append to existing data. So if you don't want to erase or overwrite the data in the field already, you can just click Toggle and then append to the existing Finally, a custom line break. If you wish to use line breaks in our text fields, you'll need to record a combination of keys such as shift return for Instagram, and then use that combination of keys within the text you wish to enter. The Export CSV step. I'm going to open up the step finder. I'm going to type in CSV, click Export CSV. All I need to do is click Insert Data and select the data I wish to export to a CSV. Then click in File Name and give my CSV file a name. I can also pass a name in from other data sources by clicking Insert Data. Import a CSV. I'm going to open up the step finder, type in CSV, click Import CSV file. Now you can either click to select and choose a file directly off your desktop, or you can pass in a file path from other data sources by clicking Insert Data. You can also just hard code a CSV file path straight into the input field. Then you can set a first cell and a last cell to batch your data, and that will limit the data that is then passed into the token, which you can use to insert into other steps. For example, here in the loop, I can pass a token in from the CSV to access that data in other steps. The remove data that contains certain words step. I'm going to open up the step finder. I'm going to type in remove and look for the step. Remove results that contain certain words. I've clicked and added that step. First of all, you can, of course, set the data source you wish to filter. That can be from a Google Sheet, it can be from a scrape, it can be from any step inside Axiom. Next, you need to set the words to filter against. You can hard code them into the input field, separate each word by a comma. You can, of course, wherever you see insert data, pass data. So you can pass your filter words from a Google Sheet, for example. Next up, word matching set to any or all. You can also match on word boundaries simply by ticking the box. Finally, columns are optional, so you can decide or you can specify exactly which columns of data you wish to filter. The remove data that does not contain certain words. I'm going to open up the step finder. I'm going to type in remove, look for the step that I want, remove results which do not contain certain words. Okay, first of all, you need to set your data source you wish to filter. All you need to do is click Insert Data and select the correct data source. Next, in words, enter the words you wish to filter by. Separate them by a comma. You can also click Insert Data and pass those words from another source, such as a Google Sheet or an API call. Next, word matching, set to any or all. You can also tick matching on word boundary. Finally, you can specify which columns you wish to check for or check against. The write data to a Google Sheet step. Open up the step finder, type in write, click and select the step. In spreadsheet, the first field, select the spreadsheet from the drop-down that you wish to use and write data to, or cut and paste the URL from the sheet directly into this field. Next, sheet name. Leave this blank to use the first sheet, but if you wish to use a specific tab within your Google Sheet, select from the drop-down or type the name in. Next, in data, click Insert Data and select the data you wish to write to your Google Sheet. Now we have a couple of write options: clear data before writing or add to existing data. And if you're using formulas within your Google Sheet, you'll want to use the write method setting, and you'll want to select user entered if you want to write formulas to the sheet. When creating advanced axioms, you may want to use the Add Error Metadata step. I'm going to open up the step finder. I'm going to search for error. I'm going to add error metadata step. Here you'll see a simple step where you've got a large input field where you can manually type in a message that you want to return when there's an error, but you can also click insert to pass data from other steps to make up that error message, giving you a more informed picture of what's happening and where errors are occurring in your Axiom. Sometimes you may want to close a browser tab. For that, we use the Close tab step. So I'm going to search for close in the step finder. There's the step. I'm going to add it. It's a very simple step to configure. You can either have it toggled onto the last open tab and it will close that tab, or you can set a tab number for it to close. The try catch step. Open up the step finder, type in try, click and add the step. It's a very simple step to set up. Under the heading try, add the sub-steps you wish to trigger before the error occurs. Then underneath the heading catch, add the sub-steps you wish to trigger when the error occurs. You'll also find the step outputs an error message in the form of a token. So, for example, you could display the error in a display message step. The if condition step. Open up the step finder, type in if, click and add the step. This step will only execute the steps contained within it if a condition is proved to be true or false. First of all, you need to set the data to check. Click on the drop down, select the source. It can be from a Google Sheet, from Chat GPT, or from an API. Next, the condition to check against. If selecting words, into the field, input the words you want to match against. You can also insert data into that field and pass in words from a Google Sheet or another source like Zapier. Then set your rule, so to apply if any word matches or if all words match. You can also match only by complete word. Finally, you have the run steps. If the condition is true, you can change to run the steps if the condition is false. You'll also have noticed in condition to check, you have the option of using JavaScript, where you can again insert data and use the tokens as variables to construct your JavaScript conditions. The Get Attachments from Gmail step. Open up the step finder, type in Gmail, click and add the step. First, you'll need to enter the keyword separated by a comma for the attachments you want to find. Then add your Gmail address. Next, choose the folder you wish to download the attachments to. Then enter the amount of emails you wish to get attachments from. The Get Data from a Bot's Current Web Page step. Open up the step finder, type in Get, select the step. Now, the first thing you'll see is this step doesn't have a URL field. So use this scraping step when your bot or your Axiom already has a go to page step and you don't need to reload the page. First of all, you'll need to select the content you wish to extract. So using our point and click selector tool, it's as simple as point and click, as you can see on screen. You can also define the type of content you want to extract. You can extract text, HTML, links and images. We also provide the ability to use custom selectors. You can add as many columns of data that you wish to extract simply by clicking the Add Column button. There is also an option to interact with iframes. I won't go into the selector tool in any more depth. You can look it up on our website and learn how to use it properly. Axiom.ai. Press complete when you've done selecting your content. Next up, if you have a pager, you will need to click the pager find button, click on that, then scroll down the page and select the next button. If you don't have a pager, Axiom should just scroll down the page loading in the content. We also have a setting for max results. When initially setting up your scraper and your bot isn't in production yet, keep this number low so you can do a test. Only increase the number to the amount of results you want when the bot is in production. Finally, we have some configuration options for your scraper. Now, a word of warning, if you do adjust any of these options, do test to make sure your bot is still working and optimized. Okay, press the toggle button to see the options. First option you'll see is a wait time between scrolls. This is the amount of time the bot pauses between a scroll to allow content to load in. You may want to adjust this if the content is fast loading or slow loading. Next up, the number of attempts the bot will make to extract the content. Now, we've been very cautious with this. The bot will check twice to make sure any content hasn't been missed, because often with sites they're loading the content in slowly, bit by bit. So we let the bot pause and then try again and then try again. This, we found, makes for more accurate results when scraping. But some people believe it slows the scraper down. We prefer accuracy. But if you do want to speed the bot up, this is a good setting to change. You can literally type it to 0. So if you've got a very fast website connection and your pages are loading instantly, you can just try setting this to 0 and it will increase, it will speed up your scrapes. You can also set a minimum wait time before scraping and a page number to start from. Next up, we've got these two options underneath those settings. Specify an exact number of pixels to scroll. That's basically, instead of Axiom auto scrolling down the page and separating that by time, you can now set a height for those scrolls. So you could say scroll, each time Axiom scrolls, scroll 200 pixels. This could be useful for when you're trying to scrape content off a listing page that is dynamically loading the content down as you scroll. You can also force a rescrape after each page. Only use this if you're not getting the first page of results. Download a file to a Google Drive step. I'm going to search in the step finder for Google Drive. I'm going to click and add the download a file to Google Drive step. First thing you'll need to do is select on screen the file you wish to download and then press complete. Then you'll need to enter the URL of the folder in the Google Drive to download to. You can also pass that URL in from a Google Sheet by clicking Insert Data. Next, the file name, you can manually input that into the field, or you can click Insert Data and pass a file name from a Google Sheet. It is also possible to do a combination of both manually typing and inserting a data source. Next, if you want to download to a local folder and not the folder on the Google Drive, it's perfectly possible to do that. Toggle on local folder, insert the path to that folder. We have two other configuration options down below that: force download and then auto convert, which will automatically convert the downloaded file to Google Docs editor format. Download file from URL step. Open up the step finder, download file from URL. It's very easy to set up. In the field, enter URL. That's the path to your file you wish to download. You can click Insert Data and pass a path from a data source such as a Google Sheet. In the folder field, you can click to select a folder off your desktop, or you can click Insert Data. And again, you can pass a path in from a Google Sheet or another data source such as Zapier. You also have the option to set a file name in the file name field. You can just type that in, or you can pass the file name in from a data source by clicking Insert Data. There are two other configuration options, and they are overwrite the existing file. That's useful if you're downloading and the file already exists. Then you also have an option to force the download. You may need to use that when a file automatically opens up in the window and you want to try and force it to download to your download folder. The download file step. Click and open up the step finder. type in download. I'm going to add the download files step. This allows you to select multiple files to download. Just click select and then select the files you wish to download off screen. Press complete. In the folder, you'll need to click to select a folder directly off your drive or enter a folder path. You can, of course, click insert data and pass a file path or a folder path rather from another data source such as Google Sheets or Zapier. You can also then set a file name in the file name field. You can manually type that name in, or you can click insert data and pass a file name from a Google Sheet. You can also do a combination of both of them. Finally, force download is a toggle option you have in case the file opens up inside the window and doesn't download to your folder. The count rows step. I'm going to open up the step finder, type in count, add the step. I click insert data, choosing the source I wish to count the rows of. In this case, a Google Sheet. Save and close. Now, when I'm in another step, I can pass in the token from the count rows step to retrieve the amount of rows. The continue if condition is met step. Open up the step finder, type in condition, add the continue if the condition is met step. Okay, the first thing you need to do is add the data to check. Now click insert data, choose your data source. This could be a Google Sheet, it could be Chat GPT, it could be Zapier. Axiom returns tokens for virtually all its steps. Once that's set, you want to choose the data or condition to check against. So in this first example, words, we want to add the words we wish to check against to prove the condition false, true or false. In the condition to check input, you can manually type in the words. You can also click insert data and pass the value to check against from data source like Google Sheets or Zapier. Next, you'll need to apply your rules. When the word matches, you can match any word, or you can match all words, or even match only the complete word. You also have an option to fail if the condition is not met, simply by ticking the box, and you can reverse the condition so it will only continue if it fails, or obviously it will continue if the condition is met. Now, you'll also notice that we have a JavaScript option. Here you can create your own JavaScript conditions, and you can also use insert data to pass Axiom's tokens in so you can access them as variables within your JavaScript code. The click multiple elements step. Open up the step finder, type in click, add the step. Next, press select and select the buttons one by one or the elements you wish to click. Then you have a choice to do a left or a right toggle, and you can set the amount of clicks you want this step to perform. Sometimes you may wish to select random rows. You can do this. Open up the step finder, type in row, and look for select random rows. Now, all you need to do is enter the amount of rows you wish, the random rows you wish to select, pass in the data source, and you're ready to go. The click social media buttons step. I'm going to open up the step finder, just type in social, add the step. Now, much like the click element step, you just point and click to select the button, but you will need to know the value in the button. So for example, the step is useful to make sure you don't click on posts that you've already liked. If I inspect it, we'll see this button has a value and the label is unlike. When And we don't want to click on that unlike value. So if I press complete, you'll see that we already have that value typed in there. But if you're using a social media platform we haven't got a value set up for, you can use the Chrome inspector and add your own values into the button for it to work. The upload a file from Google Drive step. I'm going to type in Google Drive into my step finder. I'm going to look for upload a file from Google Drive. I've added the step. First thing I need to do is click File Input field and select the input I wish to upload the file to. In this case, it's just a button, and I'm going to click and select here. A handy little feature Axiom does have is use element text, which is useful if there's some unique text to select, and that will act as the selector to find that element. I press complete. Next, I need to enter the URL of the file in the Google Drive to upload. I can either manually type that in, I can insert it from another data source such as a Google Sheet. Finally, if you wish to run this step locally or on your desktop, for example, you'll need to specify a folder to upload your files from. You can again, of course, insert that path from a data source, or you can press click to select to find the file on the desktop yourself. The upload a file step. I'm going to open up the step finder. I'm going to type in upload. You'll see I have the upload a file step at the top of my list. I'm going to click and add the step. Now, before I show you how to configure it, this step works on the desktop and not in the cloud. First of all, I need to do it. First thing is to click on File Input field and select where I want to upload the file to. Here in Instagram, I select from computer and press complete. Next, I enter the file path where I wish to retrieve my file from. I can manually type that in. I can, of course, click insert data and pass my file path from a Google Sheet or from an API request. I can also simply click select and find the file I wish to upload from my desktop. The jump step. Open up the step finder, type in jump. I'm going to click and add the step. This step simply jumps between steps. In the jump to step, you specify the number of the step you wish to jump to. For example, if I put in 1, I would jump back to the top of the axiom and go to the very first step. The maximum amount of cycles is the amount of times the step will jump. If it runs out of cycles, the bot will simply continue on past the jump step. You can also pass in data to set the maximum amount of cycles. The get list of links step from a URL. I'm going to add the step. I'm going to type in links to find it. There it is, get a list of links to pages from a URL. I'm going to add the step. You can see it has a URL field. Now I can cut and paste the URL in there. Generally, it'll just grab it if you've opened it on the correct page. You can, of course, click Get the current URL if you need to change that, and there is an option to insert data, and you can pass URLs directly from a data source such as a Google Sheet. Next, you select the links you wish to scrape. Press Select, then it's just point and click in a repeating pattern to select matching links. Press Complete. Next, the match results. If you want to test your bot, we recommend testing and extracting around 10 to 20 links. Any more than that takes longer than you want to spend doing a test. Only boost the number when the bot's in production and you're ready to use it. So you can then toggle it onto all or specify a higher batch number. We also have configuration settings for the scraper. Now, a word of caution, if you do want to experiment with these to speed up the scraper, do test every time you make a change just to make sure it's not had a negative impact. There are risks in speeding up the scraper in the sense that all sites are different, they load at different speeds, so we've generally tried to go with a cautious speed, so we've slowed it down a little to make it more accurate and make sure it gets all the results. But you can have good success speeding up. So here's a few tips to do that. Generally, wait time between scrolls, you can adjust that if you're scraping a page that is scrolling and loading content, you may want to adjust that, but generally leave that one alone. The one I change is the attempts when results not found. If you've got a good internet speed and the pages are loading in quickly and the content loads in all at the start, then you can really reduce this number down to 0 or 1, and that speeds the scraper up. Minimum wait between scraping can also have a good impact in speeding up your scrape, but do be careful and, like I said, test it. You can also specify a page number to start from. Then there are two further settings. When scraping scrolling pages and content loads at a specific point as the page scrolls, you can use this setting to scroll to pixels rather than timing between scrapes. Lastly, force a rescrape after each page change. Use this if you're only getting the first page of results. Get a list of links from a URL step, then add the step. In the step finder, I'm going to type links. I'm going to add the step just by clicking on it. Then you'll see, first of all, I've got a URL field. It will grab the URL of the web page you're on. You can also click Get URL, and you can insert data and pass a URL from another data source. It will not loop through links passed into here. You'll need to use the loop step to do that. Okay, select the links you wish to scrape. It's point and click with our selector tool. Just click on the first link, and then on the second, we recommend clicking a bit further down the list to find a repeating pattern. But you'll see the links have been selected. You can add additional columns of data, and you can, of course, change the type of data you wish to select. If you're seeing blue on screen, you may need to interact with iframes and toggle that option on. Press complete when you've made your selection. If you do want to find out more about our selector tool, for example, how to use CSS selectors with it, you can look on our website, Axiom.ai, under documentation. Press complete. Next up, if you're on a paginated page, you will need to just click on Find Pager, then select the next button. Pretty simple. Next, max results. Now, when testing your bot, keep this number low. Just extract somewhere between 10 or 20 so you can check the results quickly, and then put the bot into production when you're happy. Next, configuration of the scraper. You can optimize the scraper by making some changes to the settings. We do recommend that you test every time you change something to ensure you're getting the results that you want. Speeding up or slowing the bot down can have an impact on the accuracy of results scraped, because quite often with many sites, all the results aren't loaded in straight away. So if you speed up the bot too much, the results might not be there yet to scrape. Okay, so wait time between scrolls, that's literally the time between each bunny hop or each time Axiom scrolls down a listing page to load in more content, much like a Twitter feed or an Instagram feed. Number of attempts, results not found. Axiom checks to see if the content you're selected is on the page. It tries to select it. If it's not there, it will try again a couple of times just in case it's still loading in. If you change this to 0, it will speed the bot up. It may affect accuracy, but in general, if you've got a fast internet connection and the page loads all the content straight away, then you can just put this down to 0 and speed your scraper up. Minimum wait before scraping. You can experiment with this if you wish, but do check. Page number to start from. That's only applicable to paginated pages that record and have the page number in the string or in the URL in the Chrome toolbar. Next, specify exact number of pixels to scroll. So instead of scrolling down a feed page and waiting between each scroll a set amount of time, you can specify a height. This is quite a useful setting if you're finding when scrolling through a feed page you're missing some content. You can experiment with changing this. Force a rescrape. after each page, use if you're only getting the first page of results.